We have a great lineup of speakers today, and we will begin by having 3 presentations on concrete cases of bilateral partnerships and projects between Japan and Bangladesh by Mr. Yuki Tanabe from Japan Center for Sustainable Environment and Society, JAXIS. The second one on bilateral relations between, or bilateral partnerships between China and Bangladesh by Mr. Mohammed Shahid Ullah. And then the third presentation on Bangladesh-Nepal partnerships by Mr. Santa Kumar Maharajan from Prakriti Resource Center in Nepal. They will provide us with concrete cases, sharing their experience and knowledge, sharing successes and challenges, but also on issues that we should consider when thinking about the role of bilateral partnerships in a just transition for Bangladesh. This is a great opportunity and great time for this conversation as Bangladesh transitions to a new government. And together with the rest of the world, Bangladesh is also trying to phase out fossil fuels and transition to renewables. It's a great time to reflect on best practices from past cases as well as challenges, and also to revisit existing projects and partnerships to move forward. After the 3 presentations, we will open up the floor for questions and then have our panelists address your questions. And then we will welcome our guest of honor, Mr. Tomohide Ichiguchi, Chief Representative from Japan International Cooperation Agency, or JICA, Bangladesh. He will reflect on the presentations and the discussions and share his thoughts. And then we will close with closing remarks by Mr. Barish Hassan Chowdhury from Friends of the Earth, Asia Pacific. We will start with Mr. Yuki Tanabe.
Hello everyone, I'm Yuki Tanabe. I work for Japan Center for Sustainable Environment Society, JAXIS. So today I'm going to tell you why we should scrap the IEPMP. IEPMP is the Bangladesh Integrated Energy and Power Master Plan. And JICA started the technical support a few years ago. And then drafted by Japanese consultant. And previous government approved IPMP last year. And then the IPMP is under the discussion in the High Court now. So there are 3 reasons. First reason is IPMP is not in line with the 1.5 goal of Paris Agreement. And the main scenario IPMP suggests 60 to 85% will be fossil fuel based, even in 2050. And IPMP also expect the net zero goal will be after 2070. So it's not in line with the Paris Agreement. So as International Energy Agency said that in the power sector should be net zero by 2040, because there are many other hard to abate sectors like iron sector, cement sector. So the power sector can be relatively easier than these sectors. So we should move as fast as possible. As a member of G7, Japan already committed not to support any new fossil fuel sector if there is no in line with the Paris Agreement 1.5 goal. But this is a violation of the G7 commitment also. The second reason, the IEPMP is designed for maximizing the profit of Japanese companies. This is a energy amount dealing by Japanese companies. So due to the population declining of Japan, and the domestic consumption of gas is now declining, and external trade by Japanese companies are increasing now, and they are selling the LNG, overstocked LNG to Asian countries, and this trend will be extended in the next several years, and that Bangladesh is one of the target for selling. The third reason, the IPMP lacks of economic viability and economic viability, and the IPMP proposed 15% of ammonia and hydrogen co-firing into 2050. But the ammonia and the hydrogen at the moment are not aligned with the Paris Agreement. So it's very cheaper. The renewable are very cheaper than these technologies. So finally, so the IPMP should be scrapped, and new energy sector will be made based on the renewable technology. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Yuki, for sharing your recommendation on Japan's IPMP proposal, and for sharing some of the challenges, including alignment with global goals, agreements, and commitments, as well as to the consideration of not just the governments, but the role and interest that the private sector brings in as well as changes in the renewable prices. We will next welcome Mr. Mohammed Shahid Ullah.
আমার আলোচনাটা 5 ভাগে বিভক্ত: introduction and background, then experience of BRI projects in Bangladesh, third, energy sector investment, China's investment in energy sector in Bangladesh, fourth, what are the context and challenges of energy sector in Bangladesh, then what are the recent development, the decisions taken by the interim government, and then the way out. China is the second largest economy in terms of GDP, number one in terms of export, and number two in terms of import. And Bangladesh has been maintaining strategic relations, bilateral partnership with China, ranging from trade to defense. Since 2006, China emerged as Bangladesh's biggest trading partner. কিন্তু এর মধ্যে আমরা মূলত ইম্পোর্টটাই করি, প্রায় 23 বিলিয়নের মতো আমরা চায়না থেকে জিনিসপত্র কিনি, আর আমরা রপ্তানি করি মাত্র 667 মিলিয়ন। তবে এখানে কথা আছে, চায়না থেকে যে জিনিসপত্র কাঁচামাল কিনি সেটা আবার আমরা রপ্তানি করি জিনিসপত্র তৈরি করে। China is the only country for Bangladesh which has a defense cooperation agreement signed 2002. আমরা যেই আর্মস এবং ইকুইপমেন্ট কিনি তার 72% চায়না থেকে আসে। আবার চায়না যে আর্মস বিক্রি করে তার সেকেন্ড ডেস্টিনেশন হলো বাংলাদেশ, প্রথমটা হলো পাকিস্তান। চায়নার ইনফ্লুয়েন্স বাংলাদেশে বেড়েছে 2009 থেকে, যখন বাংলাদেশ ভারতের সম্পর্কটাকে গোল্ডেন এরা হিসেবে চিহ্নিত করা হয়েছিল। এরপরে বাংলাদেশ জয়েন BRI বেল্ট অ্যান্ড রোড ইনিশিয়েটিভ ইন 2016-তে, যে সম্পর্কটাকে বলা হচ্ছে স্ট্র্যাটেজিক পার্টনারশিপ কোঅপারেশন। এরপরে এই সম্পর্কটা আরও উন্নীত হয় 2024 সালে কম্প্রিহেন্সিভ স্ট্র্যাটেজিক পার্টনারশিপ কোঅপারেশন বলা হচ্ছে, এবং দুটো দেশ আগামী বছরে 50তম বছরের ডিপ্লোম্যাটিক যে সম্পর্ক সেটা উদযাপন করবে। এরপরে BRI প্রজেক্টে আমাদের কি অভিজ্ঞতা, তার কারণ চায়নার সম্পর্কটা মূলত বাইলেটারাল সম্পর্কটা বিআরআই প্রজেক্ট, বেল্ট অ্যান্ড রোড ইনিশিয়েটিভ প্রজেক্টেরকে ঘিরেই করা। বিআরআই এর 5টা কম্পোনেন্ট আছে। একটা হলো পলিসি কোঅর্ডিনেশন, ইনফ্রাস্ট্রাকচার কানেক্টিভিটি, আনকনস্ট্রেন্ট ট্রেড, ফিনান্সিয়াল ইন্টিগ্রেশন, পিপল টু পিপলস কোঅপারেশন। এখন বিআরআই এর আওতায় যে প্রজেক্টগুলো আছে সাধারণত আমরা 5টা ইস্যু এখানে দেখি। একটা হলো 5টা কোশ্চেনই প্রধান থাকে। একটা হলো প্রজেক্ট সাস্টেনেবিলিটি, হাই এনভায়রনমেন্টাল, সোশ্যাল অর গভর্নেন্স রিস্ক, ফসিল ফুয়েল or coal-fired power plants lead to carbon catastrophe, lack of transparency, high inflated cost. আমরা যদি 3টা কেস দেখি, একটা হলো কর্ণফুলী টানেল, আরেকটা হলো বাঁশখালী কোল পাওয়ার প্ল্যান্ট, আর ঢাকা এলিভেটেড এক্সপ্রেস ওয়ে যেটা এখন চলছে, এগুলোতে আমরা প্রধানত 3 ধরনের সংকট দেখি। প্রথম হলো ইকোনমিক্যালি নন ভায়াবল, আমরা টানেলের ক্ষেত্রে দেখছি, যেটা প্রতিদিন আয় হচ্ছে 12 লক্ষ টাকা, সম্ভবত 12 কি 14, আর খরচ হচ্ছে 37 লক্ষ। আবার দ্বিতীয় সংকট হলো লোন ডিসবার্সমেন্ট, চায়নার লোনের সংকট হলো এটার পিরিয়ড কম, লোনের হার বেশি, গ্রেস পিরিয়ডও আবার কম। তো প্রজেক্ট ডিলে হয়, প্রজেক্ট শেষ হতে না হতে এটার রিপেমেন্ট শুরু হয়, সেটা আমাদের জন্য একটা বার্ডেন তৈরি করছে। এরপরে আছে ইরেগুলারিটিস, হিউম্যান রাইটস ভায়োলেশন, যেটা আমরা বাঁশখালী প্রজেক্টের ক্ষেত্রে দেখেছি। এবার আসি এর ক্ষেত্রে, এনার্জি ট্রানজিশনের ক্ষেত্রে কি অবস্থা। চায়নার এফডিআই স্টকে বাংলাদেশে চায়নার যে ইনভেস্টমেন্ট পাওয়ার সেক্টরে মূলত বেশি, সেটা 52%, এরপরে হলো আরএনজি সেক্টরে 21%। এখন পটেনশিয়াল কি, এটা সাকসেস ফেলিউরের কথা বলা হচ্ছিল। আসলে সাকসেস ফেলিউরের আমরা তো জানি আমাদের এনার্জি মিক্সের কী অবস্থা। যেখানে ফসিল ফুয়েল আছে, যেখানে আছে কোল আছে, সেখানে আমরা সাকসেস ফেলিউরের বিষয়টা আর বিবেচনায় নিতে পারি না। আর আমরা তো আগের বিআরআই প্রজেক্টের এক্সপিরিয়েন্সেসগুলো দেখেছি, এই প্রজেক্টে কি হয়, প্রজেক্ট সময় মতো শেষ হয় না, লোন দেওয়ার কথা থাকলে কন্ট্রাক্ট পিরিয়ড দেরি হয়, প্রজেক্ট একটা অ্যামাউন্টে শুরু হয়, দুই দিকের আমাদের আমলা আর তাদের ব্যবসায়ীরা মিলে টাকার পরিমাণ বেড়ে যায়, এগুলো আমাদের অভিজ্ঞতা। কিন্তু তারপরেও চায়নার ক্ষেত্রে, এনার্জির ক্ষেত্রে, বিদ্যুৎ উৎপাদনে, টোটাল এনার্জির ক্ষেত্রে প্রধান না, বিদ্যুৎ উৎপাদনে চায়নার ইনভেস্টমেন্ট আমাদের বাইরের সবচেয়ে বেশি, 667 মিলিয়ন, এটা 2022 সালের হিসাব। Chinese enterprises have played a significant role in 27 power and energy projects in Bangladesh. আর তাদের এই এনার্জি কোল, সোলার, উইন্ড পাওয়ার সব কিছুতে আছে, যেটা আমাদের যে এনার্জি মিক্স সেখানে একটা ভূমিকা রাখছে। ওভার দ্য লাস্ট 15 years চায়না ডোমিনেটস ইন সোলার মার্কেট। আমাদের যে সোলারের যে বাজার, তার প্রায় 80% চায়নার দখলে। অ্যাকর্ডিং টু দ্য ব্লুমবার্গ রিপোর্ট, China, the world's largest investor in renewable energy, has already invested approximately 676 billion in clean energy in 2023 alone, যেটা বৈশ্বিক পরিমাণের 38%। এখন আমরা জানি বাংলাদেশের 40% রিনিউয়েবল এনার্জির একটা টার্গেট আছে 2041 সালে, যেটা পূরণ করতে আইইএফ এর হিসাব অনুযায়ী বছরে 1.75 থেকে 1.71 বিলিয়ন টাকা দরকার। এক্ষেত্রে চায়নার ইনভেস্টমেন্ট একটা ভূমিকা পালন করতে পারে। এরপরে আসি আমাদের নিজেদের দিকে তাকাই, যে আমাদের পাওয়ার অ্যান্ড এনার্জি সেক্টরের আসলে কি কি চ্যালেঞ্জেস এবং কনটেক্সটটা কীরকম। আমার এই কথাগুলো আমি নিয়েছি থেকে সাম্প্রতিক সময়ে যে শ্বেতপত্র বেরিয়েছে, ওই শ্বেতপত্রের ডকুমেন্ট থেকে। আমরা হলাম একটা এনার্জি পুয়ার কান্ট্রি। গ্লোবাল অ্যাভারেজে পার হেড আমাদের আমরা কনজিউম করি 465 কিলোওয়াট আওয়ার পার ইয়ারে, আর যেটার গ্লোবাল অ্যাভারেজ হলো 3000 কিলোওয়াট আওয়ার। আমাদের দেশে 99% পপুলেশনের অ্যাক্সেস হয়েছে, কিন্তু এই বিদ্যুৎটা রিলায়েবল না। এটা এই থাকে তো এই থাকে না, তারপরে আবার দাম যেটা আছে সেটাও খুব একটা সহনীয় না। তৃতীয় সংকট হলো, এগুলো আমরা সবই জানি, ইনস্টল ক্যাপাসিটি এক্সিডস অ্যাকচুয়াল ডিমান্ডস। তারপরে ইম্পোর্ট ডিপেন্ডেন্ট এলএনজি অথবা কোল। এরপরে আছে এক্সেস জেনারেশন ক্যাপাসিটি, কান্ট্রি সাফার ফ্রিকুয়েন্ট লোড শেডিং অ্যান্ড সিভিয়ার গ্যাস শর্টেজ। এরপরে আছে যে আলোচনাটা হচ্ছে মাঝে মাঝে, আমাদের ট্রান্সমিশন এবং ডিস্ট্রিবিউশনের ক্ষেত্রেও সংকট আছে, আমাদের গ্রিডের প্রবলেম আছে। আমাদের এখানে লসের পরিমাণ, সিস্টেম লসের পরিমাণ 10.06%, যেটা ট্রান্সমিশন এবং গ্রিডের সমস্যা যদি সমাধান করা যায় সিঙ্গেল ডিজিটে নামানো যায়। আর আমাদের টার্গেট বিভিন্ন ডকুমেন্টে বিভিন্ন রকমের, কোনোটাতে ধরেন এটার বলি না, অনেকবার আলোচনা হয়েছে, আইপিএমপি আর ওই যে মুজিব ক্লাইমেট প্রসপারিটি প্ল্যান। এ যদি অবস্থা হয়, এটাকে ঘিরে সাম্প্রতিক সময়ে যেই সিদ্ধান্তগুলো নেওয়া হয়েছে ইন্টারিম গভর্নমেন্টের, সেটা হলো আমরা জানি যে আমাদের যে চায়নার যে রাষ্ট্রদূত তাকে অনুরোধ করেছিলেন আমাদের প্রধান উপদেষ্টা, তার চায়নার যে সোলার ইন্ডাস্ট্রি আছে রিলোকেট করার জন্য, সেটা চায়নার ফরেন মিনিস্টার রাজি হয়েছে, এটা একটা খবর। আর সরকার কুইক এনহ্যান্সমেন্ট অফ ইলেকট্রিসিটি অ্যান্ড এনার্জি সাপ্লাই অ্যাক্ট এটা সাসপেন্ড করেছে। আগামীতে ডেটাগুলো ওপেন থাকবে, অ্যাক্সেসিবল থাকবে জনগণের জন্য। আর সরকার 42টি পাওয়ার প্ল্যান্ট প্রজেক্ট বন্ধ করেছে, এর মধ্যে 37টা ছিল রিনিউয়েবল এনার্জির। এই প্রজেক্টগুলোর 15টা বিভিন্ন দেশের, চায়নার প্রজেক্টও এর মধ্যে আছে। এই যদি অবস্থা হয়, একদিকে আমরা আমাদের অভিজ্ঞতা দেখেছি বাইলেটারাল সম্পর্কের ক্ষেত্রে, চায়নার ইনভেস্টমেন্টের ক্ষেত্রে, প্রজেক্টের ক্ষেত্রে আমাদের কি অবস্থা সেটা দেখেছি। এটার উপর বিবেচনা করে আসলে আমাদের ভবিষ্যতের পথটা হাঁটতে হবে। সেটা আমি খুব বেশি করিনি, সেটা সকলের জন্যই থাকলো। আমাদের একটা বিশ্বাসযোগ্য পরিকল্পনা লাগবে, বাস্তবায়নযোগ্য। তার কারণ সংকটগুলো কোথায় কোথায় আছে তার একটা প্রায়োরিটি করা দরকার। একটু আগের সেশনে আলোচনা হচ্ছিল ঘোড়ার আগে গাড়ি ঝুড়ে দিচ্ছি কি না আমরা। আমার দিক থেকে যদি হয়, যেহেতু বলতে হবে কয়েকটা কথা বলি, আমাদের একটা পলিসি সভরেন্টি লাগবে। 2 নম্বরে জাস্ট ট্রানজিশনের জন্য আমাদের একটা কম্প্রিহেন্সিভ পলিসি লাগবে। আর এটা হবে সেলফ রিলায়েন্ট, বাইরের দেশ থেকে হবে, সেটা হবে নিশ্চয়ই, কিন্তু দীর্ঘমেয়াদে আমাদের নিজস্ব সক্ষমতা তৈরি করতে হবে। তারপরে প্রমোটিং সাস্টেনেবল প্রোডাকশন, সাস্টেনেবল কনজাম্পশন, যদিও বিষয়টা খুবই রাজনৈতিক সিদ্ধান্ত, বিশেষ করে নয়া উদারবাদের এই জমানায়। আর এরপরে বেস্ট প্র্যাকটিসেসগুলো শুধু চায়না কেন, জার্মানি এবং ইউরোপের অনেকগুলো দেশে রিনিউয়েবল এনার্জির ক্ষেত্রে অনেক ধরনের সাকসেস আছে, বেস্ট প্র্যাকটিসেস আছে। সেগুলো আমরা, আমাদের যেহেতু কনটেক্সট ভিন্ন, সেগুলো থেকে আমরা কোনটা কি নিতে পারি সেটাও দেখার বিষয় আছে। আর বাইরের যে বাইলেটারাল যে প্রজেক্টগুলো হবে, সেখানে নিশ্চিতভাবে অ্যাকাউন্টেবিলিটি এবং ট্রান্সপারেন্সি থাকতে হবে। এর পরেরটা আমি দিয়েছি রামপাল আর ফুলবাড়ি কোল মুভমেন্টের কথা, সেটা আমাদের শ্বেতপত্রে লেখা আছে এই কারণে যে আমাদের যে এনার্জির যে মুভমেন্টগুলো, জনগণের সম্পৃক্ততা ওই দুটোতে ছিল। তো আমরা যারা কথা বলছি, আমরা যদি আমাদের এই জাস্ট ট্রানজিশনের মুভমেন্টটা আরও বড় করতে হয়, তাহলে আরও অনেক স্টেক হোল্ডার কে যুক্ত করতে হবে। একটা আন্দোলন যদি না হয়, এটাকে যদি একটা বড় ইস্যু যদি না করা যায় রামপাল এবং ফুলবাড়ির মতো, তাহলে এটার সফলতা হয়তো আমরা সেভাবে দেখতে পাবো না। আপনাদের মনোযোগের জন্য ধন্যবাদ।
Thank you very much, Shahid. We will go on to our last presentation by Mr. Santa on Nepal-Bangladesh bilateral partnerships.
Thank you, and good afternoon all. Today I'm presenting about the potential and the risks of hydropower cooperation between Bangladesh and Nepal. Like Bangladesh and Nepal have a long relationship, and this relationship is being gradually developing through the hydropower cooperation between the government of Nepal and government of Bangladesh. Moving to the first slide, because in this 3-day conference, we are talking about the just energy transition. So that why does the just transition is necessary in the context of this century? This is the most necessary thing, because the global is shifting. Now the global is shifting because of this climate change and that limit of 1.5 degrees Celsius. Now globally, all the nations are shifting towards the renewable and the clean energy. And in the terms of that, hydropower is also the one of the renewable energy, so that due to this global shift, we have necessary to move towards the just energy transition, as well as the climate energy. Climate energy is emergency is the one of the major concern, because the globally, like for the country like Nepal, which is a mountainous country with the snow cap, glaciers, which matters a lot, because it is the reservoir of a fresh water, and if the climate change or the temperature will be rise in this type of way, then it will matter a lot. So that the mountains matter a lot. So that due to the climate emergency, just energy transition is very necessary. And when we are talking about the just energy transition, what is a just transition? It is very necessary to understand, because the just, in the earlier session before the launch, there is also the definition of the just energy transition. Like a presenter are highlighting about how the just transition should be addressed. So it should be the availability. The energy should be available to all, and it should be the key, and it should fulfill the basic human needs, that which the human development needs, as well as affordable. It should be, the service should be affordable for all, regardless of a socio-economic status. Just transition means just, so that everyone can equally grab the opportunity, regardless of the socio-economic status of the people. And it should be the transparency, and it should be the accountable to all, and the sustainability matters a lot in the case of the just energy transition. In case of just energy transition, I want to present some points about what Nepal is doing, or how Nepal is committed towards the just transition. Regarding a clean energy, Nepal has in second nationally determined commission, Nepal has mentioned that it will generate 15% of total energy generated energy. Among the generated energy, 15% will be the clean energy. Electric vehicles, like 90% of all the private vehicles should be the by the 2030, it will be the electric vehicles, private well. Forest coverage, which is like a 45% of the land will be under the forest cover, which we have totally met. We are now Nepal has a coverage of 45% of the forest. Foil fuel dependency, like cut down by the 28% by the 2030. Net zero emissions by 2045, but if not possible by 2050, we have committed like that. As well as when we are talking about the just energy, that there will come the gender equity. So Nepal is planning, or in all the local government, like a 750 local government is planning to develop the climate resilience and the gender responsive adaptation plans also. Now, in terms of the why hydropower, why Nepal is talking, or why Nepal is executing so much hydropower, because the Nepal has the potential, because Nepal is a mountainous and the hilly country. The geographical condition has boomed that hydropower development. Also the rivers or the glaciers which we have available, that is one of the opportunity we can grab that. So that the past resources, we have the past resources. Technically, we have a 42,000 megawatt, which is producible, which we can produce. That we have that megawatt of the resources. And according to the Nepal Electricity Authority, which is a major authority, which is administrating the hydropower sector of the Nepal, currently by the 2024, we have a 3,000 megawatt of hydropower production, and among that 95% is and in the Nepal, among the total energy production or consumption, that is given or contributed by the hydropower. That is a 95% will be the contribution from the hydropower. as well as the regional energy security. Why Nepal is dedicated to water? Because it is also the regional energy security. In the South Asian level, like Nepal is now exporting the energy to the India, as well as also exporting the energy to the Bangladesh, as well as we are in the dialogues with Bhutan, China, and also other neighboring countries for the exporting the energy from surplus energy from the Nepal to other countries, as well as the environmental benefits, because the hydropower is considered to be one of the renewable energy, so that it will help in the environmental benefits also. As well as why Nepal is trying to catch the potential of the hydropower means it wants to diversify the trade, because the Nepal, due to the climate change, once used to be an agriculture-based country, now the agriculture production have been declined very much. Now, like in the past, Nepal used to export like a cardamom or the clay, or omrisho or some plant-based, NTFP-based products to the Bangladesh, but now it is not being able to do so. But now, if we are able to do it, why don't we can export the energy? Because the Bangladesh also need the energy mix at the situation, so that we can work together to the net zero emission, so that so the Nepal is diversifying the trade diversifying trade through the hydropower, as well as Nepal want to be a net exporter in the South Asian region in the terms of hydropower, as well as addressing the trade deficit of the Nepal. And in terms of cooperation, how we can support the Bangladesh, because of the Bangladesh rapid growth, because Bangladesh is rapidly growing country. It has a huge industrialization, and energy demand is very much high. So that to address that energy demand, the Nepal can have some support, so we can have that type of the cooperation also. Like a power source diversification, in Bangladesh, most of the energy are the fossil or the natural gas based, and also the Bangladesh is focusing on the solar farms and the solar plants. But still, to maintain the energy mix from the renewable energy, the solar or any other plants is not just sufficient. So that the cooperation with the country like Nepal, which have a huge potential on the hydropower, that can contribute a lot, as well as in the environmental sustainability, it can also contribute to the environmental sustainability of the Bangladesh also. Looking at the energy profiles and the complementary energy needs of the Bangladesh, like in the Bangladesh, energy mix is mostly from the fossil fuel based, and is and there is a high demand during the summer and monsoon both season. But in case of the Nepal, during the wet season, there is a surplus amount of the production of the hydroelectricity. There is a surplus production, so that that surplus amount of the hydro energy can be exported to the neighboring countries, and including the Bangladesh, so that we can have the opportunity to have a cooperation, and we can move towards the net zero emission, and we can be at the limit of the 1.5 degrees Celsius as indicated by the Paris Agreement. In the terms of the cooperation, there are several types of the developments. We can see that recently there is one of the historic tripartite energy agreement between the India, Bangladesh, and Nepal. In this this tripartite agreement was done in the October 2024. In this tripartite agreement, Nepal has agreed to transmit or export the 40 megawatt of hydropower electricity to Bangladesh using the transmission line of India. And this tripartite agreement has some building blocks. This is the cooperation which is started since 2018. In the very 2018, Nepal and Bangladesh has understanding on the power agreement and energy agreement. Basis on this, on 2023, the Joint Steering Committee meeting agreed to have a meeting with India and to have a dialogue with the Indian government to export our energy from the hydroelectricity from the Nepal to the India using the Indian transmission line. And this historic milestone was achieved in the 2024. In this trilateral power transmission, the energy transfer from the Dhalkebar of Nepal using a Muzaffar line to the Burmapur, India to the Bheramara, Bangladesh. And in this cooperation, Nepal is exporting the 40 megawatt of hydroelectricity at the price of 6.4 US dollar cents per unit. And through this cooperation, what is the benefit for the Nepal? Because maybe you have a queries like if you have gone through the background of the Nepal itself is there is energy challenges, so that one of the benefits is the hydropower potential can be grabbed, and another is to address a trade deficit. Well as what is the benefits of the Bangladesh can meet the demand of the energy mix, as well as it can diversify its energy. The key advantage, I will say that it will be the energy security for the Bangladesh. There will be the economic growth for the Nepal as well as for the Bangladesh also, and it will create the environmental sustainability globally. Okay, I'll skip this. Regarding when we are talking about the hydropower potential, there is also the social impacts also, because in case of Nepal, there is a number of the hydropower have displaced lots of households. For example, Budi Gandaki hydropower has displaced over 45,000 of the people from the surrounding area, as well as for the Tano hydropower also there is like 500 households affected and 86 are completely disturbed. Like also the Sunkasi 3 hydropower is also under the negotiation under the Bangladesh and Nepal, so that the Sunkosi hydropower is also supposed to displace 400 households, so that 4,000 households, so that this is the situation. The people are being displaced by the hydropower. That is only one of the major issues of the hydropower. Also the indigenous right and indigenous communities are also affecting toward the hydropower, as well as the economic impact is one of the major point, because most of the people are based on the resources around the river, so that is also disturbed. As well as there is also the environmental impacts like a habitat fragmentation, water flow changes, as well as the pollutions also. In turn, saying this, but still we need a hydropower development, because the hydropower is one of the potential of the renewable energy. So it should be a sustainably developed. The community should be engaged, and community should be addressed well, and environmental mitigation plans should be well composed, and it should be executed, and it should be monitored. So looking at the shared future between Bangladesh and Israel, there is we need to expand the trade by the means of different type of mitigation and the monitoring. So in combined way, we can bring a regional economic dimension, and there will be the shared prosperity between Bangladesh and Nepal. So there is a necessary of a technical and feasibility study. There should be the policy framework, policy coherence, and policy harmony between the Bangladesh and the Nepal, and there should be the public awareness and the engagement also, because without disturbing the community of the Nepal, without disturbing the indigenous community of the Nepalese people, if we are able to develop the hydropower and able to export that is the beneficial thing. Saying this, I will say that we can have a hope of sustainable and just energy future from the hydropower, but it should be check and balance. Saying this, I will conclude this. Thank you.
That is really fantastic, occasion for me, and particularly under interim government, more, freedom of expressions, and more open discussions, and particularly consultation with, NGOs and the other, environment activists, human rights activists. I think that is really, good opportunities. And honestly, of course, JICA is always open to such discussions with NGOs, Japanese NGO, Bangladeshi NGOs, and also other activists. And yes, I really want to mention about the Integrated Energy Master Plan, but the question and answer have already covered, so I don't need to mention that Integrated Energy Power Master Plan anymore. But let me reiterate. So, this master plan is a living things. So that should be updated. So now, energy advisor is saying he want to revise this master plan. I think they should do it. And full-fledged support may not be possible. I think we can ready to provide some support to the government for that purpose. So that is integrated energy and the power master plan. And yes, the government of Bangladesh so far has given much importance to climate change adaptation, emphasizing that Bangladesh is the seventh most viable country to climate change. They have focused more on the adaptation, but as we discussed today, also mitigation is also very important in Bangladesh, because Bangladesh is the not small country, honestly. It's eighth populous country in the world. Also, Bangladesh will be developed quite drastically. So Bangladesh has also kind of responsibility to mitigate to climate change, particularly in the coming years. JICA has supported the government of Bangladesh for both mitigation and the adaptation. Rather, based on government policy, we have focused on adaptation. But in the future, definitely, I think we will give more importance to mitigation, particularly energy transitions. And we are already doing some cooperation in addition to integrated energy master plan. We have provided some finance for promotion of renewable energy. One project I have already explained about our loan to the 100 megawatt solar power in Pabna. That is our say 95% of our cooperation goes to the government, but we have 5% window for direct cooperation, direct assistance to private companies. So we have so-called PSIF, Private Sector Investment Finance. It's like IFC in the World Bank Group. So using the PSIF scheme, we have provided the $50 million loan for development of the solar power in Pabna. Second project under this PSIF is our 90 million loan to Black Bank to promote green financing, particularly renewable energy and energy efficiency. The Pabna project, we signed the loan agreement in April, and Black Bank, we signed loan agreement last year. So it's a significant cooperation contribution to renewable energy, and we continue to promote such renewable energy using our PSIF, because now private companies are playing very major role for development of renewable energy. So we can take advantage of this PSIF. In addition, we have been working for energy efficiency, because energy transition honestly takes time. So I think we should also give importance to energy efficiency. We have been working with energy division, power division for efficient use of energy, efficient use of power. Also, we have been working with SREDA, IDOCO, and BIFL to provide finance for promotion of energy efficient equipment in offices and factories. I think we will continue such support. And globally, JICA understands JICA's responsibility on climate issue and sustainability. And last year, JICA published JICA's sustainability policy to manifest our commitment about the climate change issue. Its policy announced we implement all new projects in the future in a manner aligned with the goals of Paris Agreement 2015. Second, we made also commitment to implement adaptation measures to achieve societies that are resilient to climate change. And thirdly, we also made a commitment to support whole of society transition in developing countries. And in addition to this sustainability policy, we have the environment and social conservation guidelines. And according to that, all JICA funded projects have to take climate change into account at the planning and implementation stages. So these are the kind of what we have done and what we are going to do in climate change adaptation and mitigation, particularly energy transition in Bangladesh and all over the world. শেষে জলবায়ু পরিবর্তন বাংলাদেশের জন্য অনেক ঝুঁকিপূর্ণ ও গুরুত্বপূর্ণ। এই জন্য আমাদের সকলকে একসঙ্গে কাজ করতে হবে। বাংলাদেশের উন্নয়নে আমরা জায়গা সবসময় বাংলাদেশের মানুষের পাশে ছিলাম, আছি এবং থাকব। থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ। অনেক ধন্যবাদ।
So I think we can move on to wrapping up this session. We will have closing remarks from Barish Chaudhuri from Friends of the Earth Asia Pacific.
I think we heard quite a lot of information about three very important partnerships for Bangladesh. Japan is considered one of our most important development partners, and that, you know, regardless of however we may feel about certain policies and certain plans, that doesn't change. China as well has been a crucial economic partner and will continue to be in the future. And Nepal, if you ask most Bangladeshis, they'll tell you Nepal is their favorite country. So they're our best friends. This session also is in the context of a broader global time, I should say, where multilateralism is on life support. We had the UNFCCC COP last month, which was disappointing to say the least, I think. No one really came out of that happy. We are at a moment where the global climate obligations are on very shaky ground. This is just today I saw an article that this year will be the first year where we will say that, you know, we have crossed 1.5 degrees of warming. So this idea of keeping 1.5 degrees alive of the Paris Agreement, we are failing if we have not already failed. In that context, one of the things that I think we have to remember with our partnerships, whether it's with Japan, whether it's with China, whether it's with Nepal, or whether it's with any other development partner, is that we are in the midst of a climatic emergency. And we are in the midst of a global energy transition. And those two things have to be fundamental to whatever agreements, whatever cooperation we do moving forward. Yuki presented in his presentation about how the IEPMP in its current iteration is not aligned with the Paris Agreement, is not aligned with not only the renewable energy targets that we set ourselves, but also the net zero targets that we have under Paris Agreement, as well as the G7 has committed to. So it's very encouraging to hear that not only JICA is welcoming this review of the IEPMP, but also that our government is now willing to undertake that work of reviewing the IEPMP. We are in the midst of a big political transition, and we don't know how long we are in this period of our transition, if we are being very honest. In the last 15 years, perhaps the reason, you know, I don't want to just point the fingers at our partners. I don't want to point the finger at only JICA here. I don't want to point the finger at our Chinese investors or any other country for that matter, because at the end of the day, we have to be masters of our own destiny. And what happens when a government is so separated from working for the greater good, working for the people, where maybe they were more focused on how do I increase my commission, how do I increase the land acquisition, how do I increase the procurement where I can have the corruption. When those become the primary focus of an energy policy, of course we will end up with a broken energy system. Of course we will end up with Chinese funded projects where we are spending more daily than we are generating. These are not financially viable. Of course, we end up with commitments to investments over the next 30 years on unproven technology or on technology that may not be suitable. And we will then claim that, no, this is suitable because we recognize that these investments can be funneled. We also have to recognize that there's a reason why, the Nepal case especially, this is presented often as a win-win situation. And I think, in Shanta Dada's presentation as well, we saw, especially that in the summer when our demand is the highest, Nepal has the most hydropower capacity to export. This seems like a win-win situation, and really the only losses here are in the sense of the project development in Nepal about the communities and the biodiversity aspect. But politically, geopolitically, this seems like a win-win situation. Why then did it take so long to get this agreement done? And that's where the complications are, right? Or complications of a tripartite agreement. This was the question I asked last year to one of our government representatives of the previous government when they were talking about building the South Asian cooperation on energy. And I said, how can you do this when we don't have a regional cooperation framework? We don't have the basis, the platform for this. And you are not willing to address the elephant in the room about why we don't have any of this. Yeah, SARC is dead. Moving forward, I think everyone has identified that we have to take more responsibility ourselves. Our government has to take more responsibility. Because if these cooperation deals with whichever country is not working to our benefit, that means our government has failed, primarily. This cannot be blamed on anyone else. Every geopolitical entity will be working for their own benefit. This is just the nature of international politics and international cooperation. So if we are not doing that for our own benefit, that means our government has failed, and we have to identify why our government has failed. Whether that is a lack of capacity, whether that is a lack of know-how, whether that is corruption, we have to identify that and work on fixing that. We hope in the future that we will see greater cooperation. None of these lessons, none of the drawbacks from this should limit how much we focus on cooperation, because without the cooperation, we will not move forward, whether it's with the just energy transition, whether it's with our climate action plans, and whether it's with increasing renewable energy, we will not move forward without that cooperation. But we have to now come to that cooperation in a way that is accountable, transparent, fighting the corruption, works for both parties, and especially has to work for us, as well as taking into account the needs of the climate and emergency and the human rights. Lastly, I want to bring one attention when we were talking about dams, and I think Mehdi Bhai talked about this and alluded to this. This is really one of the foundations of South Asia's environmental justice movement, was the movement against dams. So when we are thinking about the project design, and I'm not going to just limit this to hydro, but also to solar, we have to think about making better project designs, better implementation that will put people and the communities that is supposed to benefit at the center. Because without that, we will then fall into the same sort of cycle of messing up. I think that's about everything I wanted to say, but I'm hoping that we will see a course correction now, and for that we need the help of our development partners. Thank you.